So today I want to go over two things. So I mentioned to start thinking of ideas, start getting some concepts for what you would do for a UI, okay? So we're in the planning phase of this one still, so I'm going to go over that, and then we'll go over the next assignment, which is the 3D camera tracking today. That'll be our actual next assignment is camera tracking, and then after that will be the UI design, all right? So one thing that I want you to be aware of is I'm not concerned about really the graphics that you have on here. I'm more concerned about the animation, okay? A lot of times, stuff like this is definitely cool to see all the little pieces there, but those aren't necessary for when we're doing these kinds of animations where we're basically just showing how the interface would move. If you have them, great. Even if you have like simplified graphics, great. It does enhance it, it doesn't make it look better. But we don't have to have those, okay? So this is just different examples of them. If I was going to do something like this, literally I would just put a circle, maybe just like a red circle in the middle to indicate some sort of item. I would have a text block there, another text block there, and then another button area there, okay? When I get down here, just circles, a little slider. With this assignment, I want you to think of transitioning from one page to another page. Like think of an app, you click on the button, it's very boring for it just to like pop open. Think of a fun way that it could get from A to B to C, okay? So as you're in, let's say this one, you click on that button, what would happen, okay? Does the screen slide up from behind it? Does you click on that and then that shape that's in the middle there, does that get bigger? And then, you know, you're actually at the page where you can see the stuff? Is this more of like the starter page? You would click on this and then that would take you into this area and then you click this button to get more information, or what, okay? So I'm providing this, which is a
template for the phone?
Yes. So these are templates for the iPhone X. Definitely if you want to use a different device, you definitely can use a different device. The end result of this, we will actually have a picture of the iPhone in there. If you think back to your 1320 class, you may have drawn an iPhone, and that might be a perfect sizing to use that iPhone as this, right? Because you already have the drawing, and we can just slap it on there. And that way you kind of did everything from start to finish. So if you don't want to, this is on Canvas. It's in the somewhere I passed up, there's interface animation, UI setup AI. Okay, so it's just an Illustrator file. I have 3 artboards because I'm doing 3 screens. You could definitely do more screens, but I want you to keep in mind that this is what we're going to be starting with. Just like the parallax assignment, you might go past this. So you might have icons that would go past this because you want to do like a scrolling screen or something. So just, again, keep those things in mind. The way that I started this is I went new. There are, if you go to the mobile side, there are different templates you can get here. View all presets, you can click that. You can just type in the dimensions too. If you look those up, you can get them. And I went to the iPhone X because it would be weird to do like a really old iPhone or something. Like, why would you have that? So that created this one area. Then I brought in a picture of the iPhone and sized up the screen area to fit within that boundary, okay? So we're not going to be concerned about the outside of the boundary right now. That will come later. All we're really thinking about is the screen, okay? What's actually on the screen itself. So then I used my shape tools to kind of build out what that screen would look like. So imagine I had the shape there. I'm just going to do it this way so you can see it a little bit easier. Is I drew the shape of that and I lined it up perfectly with the edges. And then I used my rounding tool to round this off. Okay, so that gave me my base shape of it. Then I have to consider, if you look at the screen, typically on the top left is like the time, and the top right is your Wi-Fi signal and whatever, some other stuff. So up here, there's a block and a block that's not used, and then there's a speaker area right there. So I drew another one, and I'm using guides the entire time. I'm making sure things are centered so I don't screw things up. With this, I'm just going over the rough process just so you can see it. So here I went and rounded, oops, I just want this one and that one. So I rounded these, then I took both shapes and subtracted that one from it. And then I could grab this corner and that corner and round those off too. Okay, that way I have pretty much the exact template. Again, I'm using it with the image on top, but you get the idea. Okay, so once I had that set up on one, I made sure everything looked right, it matched. I did resize it afterwards, so that's why it doesn't fit perfectly right now. And then I went to my artboard tool, and then with your artboard tool, you can just hold down Alt and just drag another copy of that artboard. Okay. Now, Illustrator is great. You can do these are you can think of them as pages, I guess, but they're artboards. After Effects won't bring in each artboard individually. Maybe in a next version it will. Eventually, what we'll have to do is we'll have to wipe them out one at a time and have just one of these exported individually for each individual file. Or we could do layers, but I think it'll just be easier the other way. So here's an example of, I think that's the plain one is the one I did. So here's an example of one. So here is my phone. You can see this is the screen area. That's the main area that I'm working on. And here's just some basic boxes to show these are the different things that would happen. So in this one, this would be, let's say, the app opener. You would click on this, and then that thing would slide up here. And then all of these buttons would kind of pop into existence. And then if you scroll down, you would have more of those buttons. And if you clicked on one, it would enlarge, and it would take you to this screen. So we still have the name of the app right here. We would have this would be related to one of these buttons. And then these would just be some sort of piece of text. And then these would be some other buttons they could click on. Okay? I'm keeping it super simple, very straightforward. You can get very involved in this as far as things like adding different levels to it, different layers to this, adding like different colors and slashes and whatever else. But I wanted to keep it simple, especially for the demo, and especially because we only have 11 days left. Okay, so in your mind, think about that stuff. So by next week, I would say to have this thing done. Okay, so have your layouts done of each individual page and what you're going to do. When we get into After Effects, some of these things we can definitely just bring in, just import in this shape, import in this shape, import in that shape. These ones here, I may opt to do a, create one shape and then clone it or duplicate it, repeater it, and then repeater it again. That way I can have as many as I want and just kind of scroll them up or scroll them down if I need to. And then same thing here, like these could all be just imported things. This is kind of like scribbly text just for now. I did find a font, I didn't download it yet, but I did find a font that it was actually a placeholder font. It wasn't the lorem ipsum stuff. It was actually like dashes and blocks. It kind of looked a little bit better than scribblies. So by next week, have this thing set up. Questions on that? Yes, sir.
So basically for this assignment, we have to basically make it so it animates as sort of like a transition.
Right. How are we getting from one screen to the other? We don't want to do it boring. It just like pops over to it, right? So if I clicked on this, I could just have the screen pop, but that's a boring way. No one wants to see that. I want to click on this and have something happen. This slides up. As it slides up, the circle goes away. And then these things will just like pop into existence.
I have to get some ideas about that for this week.
Yep.
And then I have to start doing that.
And if you look at Pinterest, it's really cool because you do get a lot of these things, and you could even see UI mockups, knockups. That's not what I'm looking for. Where these things are animated like this. So you can see how he's showing how this thing is being interacted with. This is a much more complex level of animation, but it's essentially doing the same exact thing that we're doing. Okay, it's just animating all these graphics, and there's a lot more pages. But look at how the text comes in and out of the screen. It's not like it just slides in. You see like the levels, not this one specifically, but the next one, you see like the top line, the next line kind of coming in individually. Yeah, like that little like whoosh in, that little whoosh in. That's cool. And then that pops up. Okay. So throw those on your Pinterest board or download them or however you want to get to them. That's kind of cool too. That's a game, right? Awesome. So any more questions on that one? No? Okay.